My journey from addiction to recovery started with a Bible in prison. 10 years of active heroin and crack cocaine use, prison 3 times, jails and institutions, more than I can probably count on my fingers and toes. And in the midst of my active addiction, there was a pastor in Henderson who was located in a church in the neighborhood where I actively lived homeless and used. Asked his congregation on a Sunday morning to put their feet into their prayers over an unchurched friend. And one of the women at that church passed me often while I was walking along the streets, and she picked me, unbeknownst to me. That woman went home and prayed for me for quite a while, and sometimes I would wake up in jail and realize that she knew I was there before I did. That is how intently she prayed for me. She prayed for me quietly to God, but she also sought me out and paid attention to what was going on in my life. So if I was arrested, that's what I mean by she wouldn't know before I did. I would oftentimes get a card in the mail at the jail, and she would remind me that you are known and you are loved. And so she paid attention to what was going on in my life. And the third time I went to prison, she was then pulling people alongside of her to pray for me. And I would receive cards from her Sunday school class or her women's group, and it would just be encouragement and all of those things. And she sent in a life recovery Bible, and I'm sure that it was prayed over well before I received it. And so things were different the third time that I went to prison. The state decided that I needed to be in a substance use treatment program, so I was transferred from the Women's Correctional Center in Raleigh to Swannanoa Correctional Center, and I was then in a 90-day treatment program, so given some tools and a treatment plan and those types of things, and none of those things had ever happened for me the first few times that I went to jail or to prison. It was pretty much just here, and you're an inmate, and this is what you've got to do your time. And so I was assigned to that substance use treatment program, given an assessment for my substance use disorder and mental health, and then given a treatment plan to go along with that. And it was overwhelming, to say the least, but I was raised in church, and my grandmother had truly planted that seed. So when Nikki sent that Bible in to me, it was the key that unlocked the things that I was asked to do in the substance use treatment program, because it was actively working the steps. It was using the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was very foreign to me to think about self-esteem and self-worth and abandonment issues and trauma and all of the things. And here was this Life Recovery Bible that also incorporated the 12 steps of recovery, but it was Christ-centered. It was what my grandmother had instilled in me as a child. And so I took that book and I put it beside the treatment program, and I put it beside the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and somehow or another God helped it all make sense. And I started to do the work that was asked of me. And so along with my counselor and the other women who were in that program with me, we walked through the 12 steps of recovery for the first time while I was in prison, and that Bible made all the difference in me being able to understand what I was doing. What brought me to Temple City Church is I was actually asked to come out to do a news interview in my hometown in Henderson. A part of my recovery journey includes a police officer who saw me, not for where I was, but for where I could be. And when that interview aired, I was actually attending a 12-step Christ-centered recovery program out in Henderson, and the news crew kind of went out to that church and talked about Christ-centered recovery during that interview with the police officer. And once that aired, I had a lady reach out to me from Temple City Church, because Temple City was actually honoring first responders very soon after that. And so Temple City Church was quite involved with Christ-centered recovery and then honoring the first responders. I was asked to come out and share the story about how that police officer helped change the course of my life. And I was actively looking for a closer Christ-centered recovery program than driving to Henderson, which was about an hour and 15 minutes away at that time. And so that's how I found out that every single Friday night there's a Christ-centered recovery program going on here, and we were still living in Garner, so it was about 30 minutes away. I was actually also very close to a woman in my program at school who attended here, so she was like, it just makes sense that you would take that 30-minute drive on Fridays instead of an hour and 15 minutes on Thursdays, and so there it started. 10 years on the other side of recovery, I'm still a messy human being that needs community. And so when I'm surrounded by other people who know what it's like to be me, then I feel comfortable, which means 10 years down the road, I still have a need and a desire to feel comfortable in my own skin, which allows a person who's walking in the door to feel comfortable in their own skin. It doesn't matter how many 24 hours of recovery that I have. It matters that I'm accepted just how I am, just for today. And I've never walked into these doors and not felt like everybody here is just like me. And that goes from the pastor to staff to the person who's got 30 years of recovery, or the person who's been here for a couple of weeks, that we can all just be exactly who we are. Pastor Rodney, the hook for me, and don't get me wrong, because there's a lot that keeps me coming back, but the morning that I heard him say, don't just trust what I say because I'm the pastor. I need you to take what you're being fed on Sunday mornings, and I need you to go home and study the Word and know what it's telling you. And if you have any questions or feedback, then my door is always open for you to come and talk to me, because I don't know everything either. And when you have a shepherd who lets you know that, hey, I'm learning and I'm growing in my intimate relationship with God, and we're never going to be whole here on this side of earth, that's for when we get to heaven, then you know you're in the right place, because learning is for a lifetime. And so when the leaders here continue to show up with us to learn, you know you're in the right place. If you're thinking about coming to church and you think that your life is too messy for you to come, I just invite you to come and sit with me and my family. If you have a high-paying job and the biggest home in the world and all of the nice things, but you feel empty, you'll get filled up here, because God's the only one who can fill that God-sized hole. If you didn't have anywhere safe to sleep last night, and you may not have changed your clothes in the last 9 days, trust me, I've been there. You will not be looked at different. You will be hugged and loved and welcomed. Come and sit with me. Come and sit with my family. And when I say my family, it doesn't just necessarily mean myself and my husband. It means our church. We're family. We support each other. No one's different here. And if we are different, my prayer is that the Lord keeps us different. So if that makes any sense to you, let it just sit down in your spirit and say, it's okay that we all don't look alike. God didn't make us all alike. We're supposed to be